so much for joining me, Mandy-Lynn Donovan, your host of Port City Personalities here in St. Awesome. Very excited about today's guest, and I think you will be too. I am joined today by my friend, Derek Seguin. Derek, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great, thanks so much. And where are you joining us from? You're not in St. Awesome.
No, I'm in my house, which is pretty awesome also. Montreal. I'm in Montreal.
Montreal, awesome. And how's things in Montreal going since we talked last?
So nice. The weather has been so nice here. I think it's finishing now. Today's probably the last day, but I've been riding my motorcycle in November, which is a wonderful, rare thing.
Nice. And so you just did a show this morning, I think?
I did. I had a radio show to promote a show I'm doing, a fundraiser I'm doing on Thursday here in Montreal for the McGill IBD research group.
Oh, wow. So I want to spend a little bit of time starting off today talking about some upcoming shows that you're doing, because I know that you've been super busy getting all that back on track since we talked last. So the last time that we talked, we were still going through the pandemic. And so now talk me through the transition. What have you been doing?
Well, we're back out on the road, so I've been touring around. I've been just back telling jokes for money. It's been fantastic to have some money.
And how many shows are you averaging a week? How many shows are you averaging a week right now?
Like 3, I guess. Last weekend I had off. I did one last minute thing. My friends, remember my friend Abdul?
Yes, Abdul, but
on the road with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
His grandfather-in-law, I guess, is not doing very well, so he had to pull out of another fundraiser for a school. So I ended up doing a show on Saturday night, which I wasn't supposed to. This was going to be my last weekend off until Christmas. So I'm booked until I have stuff every week until Christmas.
Oh, wow. So how does that feel, going from never leaving the house and the family to always leaving the house and the family? The family must be happy.
Yeah, well, we're all happy. We're all sick of each other after 2 years of being locked together.
For sure. And so what has the traveling been like? Where have you been traveling to? Are you just in Canada? Have you left Canada?
No, only in Canada. Actually, I'm going to Jamaica though in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I say booked, that there's a weekend in there that I'm not actually doing shows. I'm going to be just sitting on the beach, drinking my face off.
Well, this will be your first time traveling in a bit, won't it?
The first time going to a beach since before the pandemic. Yeah, I'm very looking forward to it. I'm super excited to do it. There's like 20 of us going to. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I hope I make it back. I hope I get back.
This could be the last time we talk.
Otherwise, they'll have to bury me beside Bob Marley or something.
Is that where you want to be buried? That was my question to ask later on. When you die, where are we placing your body?
I don't care.
You're fine with whatever?
I'm done. Yeah.
Are we burying you with your motorcycle though? Are you one of those people that?
No, I don't want anything that will add any expense to the whole thing. I've been through enough debt in my life, and just funeral planning for my father, and that, like, it's such a racket of money grab, gross thing. That I've actually joked. I suggested to my children that they eat me so that I'll always be part of them somewhere in their colon or whatever, but they thought that was a weird idea, so I pretended I was kidding. Good way to get rid of the evidence. Just eat me. They'll never find it.
Why not throw your ashes at sea or something like that? Why do we gotta go straight to cannibalism?
Whatever's cheap. I just want it to be cheap. I bought a plot in a cemetery though for my dad, and I left room, so, like, even on the headstone my mother's name is already there, like. So there's things that have already been taken care of. So whatever's cheap. I don't know. I kind of don't want to think about it, Mandy. I'm turning 50 in less than a month. So
that's still young.
My mortality is very, very fresh in my mind. I'd rather not really think about it. Hopefully I've got another couple of years to give it some thought.
Well, you're still young, although I was just saying I was in the shopping center in Moncton on Saturday on the way to Moline.
Stop bragging, Mandy, again.
And I know. And when I was there, though, I was standing in the lineup and I talked to the girl and they did the usual, how are you today? And she might have been 20, 22. And she said, She said, "Oh," she said, "just working every day. I'm really tired." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear. I hope you're taking some time for yourself as well." She said, "Nope, got to work all I can now because once I turn 39 or 40," she said, "I'm going to start having so many health issues. My body's going to fall apart." Meanwhile, I'm 39, like buying leather pants. And I'm like, my stuff's where it needs to be. I feel attacked. So to them, so when you're 22, 23, 39, 40 is when you start to fall apart.
That's what I thought at that age. So, and look at me now. I think a piece just fell off of me while we were talking. So below this level, things are falling off as we speak.
What has comedy been like, Derek, since you've been back out on the road? Has there been any changes in the audience, how you're perceived, how jokes are? Talk about that.
There is something. I can't put my finger on it, but I do find that it's different. Um, for a lot of my peers, like when I talk to other comics and that, I think
Right,
that Will Smith thing really had an effect on people's mindset, and there
right.
does seem to be more crazy happening at comedy shows, like that Lisa Baker thing. Did you see the table got flipped at Lisa Baker?
Yes, I did.
I'm like, what?
How?
So I think so. A combination, I think, of the Will Smith thing has got it more on the top of our mind, and then the pandemic seemed to have made people forget just how to behave when they're out in public with other people, has made it so that we're all a little bit more mindful of our surrounding, I think. But
Agreed.
otherwise, I think uh, there's a mix. Like you get a group of people that half of them are just so happy to be out doing anything that they're so enthusiastic, and then there's the other half that just forget that they're so used to watching Netflix they don't feel like they have to really put any effort. Like, oh no, I'm having fun, and I'm like, well, tell your face. See your face look like you're not having fun
Right.
because they're just so used to sitting with their resting face for
Yeah.
2 years that
Right.
but I'm just so happy to be back out on the road. It's like uh, wonderful, and it's not lost on me how lucky I am to get to make a living doing what I do. But at the same time, I'm also the pandemic made me lazy. Also, I'm like sometimes I'm like, oh God, 8 o'clock flight. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. But at the end of the day, I'm just very appreciative that this is what I get to do to feed my family.
Absolutely. And so, since we talked last, you and I were both in our mutual friend James Mollinger's television show. Talk to everybody about what your role is and what that is.
Right. the I was I'm in the New Brunswick comedy mafia in James Mollinger's sitcom thing called NB Brexit and
Yep.
Brexit
And be Brexit. Yep.
NB Brexit. Yep. Which I can't wait to see. I mean, like any TV or film, you shoot it, you think that this seems fun. Hopefully, like they captured it, but we'll see once it's edited if I look like an idiot or if I look like an actor. Maybe I'm an actor. We'll see. See how it comes out.
We were over at James's a few weeks ago, Nikki and I, and when she was down doing some shows, and we were actually on our way over for her to go win her lottery house, but that's a separate topic. But we stopped by, and he did show us a piece of what came back on it, and
Oh,
you
really?
guys, you guys look like forces to be reckoned with. It's going to be great, I think.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, because that's like the last thing the last like fiction or whatever like TV that I shot. So I hadn't acted in a while, and I hope it looks good. I can't wait to. I wish I got more of that. Actually, that's something that I enjoyed it so much that I kind of wish now that I had an agent again and that
Mm-hmm.
I could get more film and TV work.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
Mm-hmm.
fun
I
one,
think that's
fun
coming
couple
up
of
because
days.
everything's been opening up like crazy. Folks have been booking and double booking and triple booking. So those things are coming up. And I think that James is going to be doing a season two. So who knows?
Oh, cool.
Who knows what comes up in that? And so, and you actually did that show when you were down here in St. John doing some shows. So that was part of your tour. You were down in St. John. You did a couple of shows at Punchlines.
Punchlines, yeah. Yeah, I
And
actually gave up a couple of days of my holiday. I was like, I had booked that Airbnb thing. Did you come over to that place?
I didn't go to the Airbnb, but I saw you on the days you were down. Yes.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
I think we worked together on
my
those days.
girlfriend was a little upset that I that I took work while we were supposed to be sitting on the beach there in St. John.
And you enjoyed the Airbnb though, didn't you?
It was gorgeous. It was so nice. I love it there. I love anywhere where I could be, just feel like where you're out and you're remote and there's water. I feel so like that's so much where I am right now. If I again, my laziness is sort of what precludes me from shopping for a cottage. I want to even around here in Quebec or somewhere between Quebec and New Brunswick or somewhere even between there's this like triangle between Montreal and Ottawa above, like this is Ottawa, this is Montreal.
Right.
Up here, there's this whole vat like full of lakes and
Right.
forest and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I so want to have a place like that where I can just go and just be in nature, and because that's one thing. Being at the shows is great, and people are a little bit different, but it's still I'm so happy to be there. But otherwise, being around people makes me crazy. I find people are just garbage now since the pandemic. Everyone's so self-involved and
I said I'll work on that. You didn't need to point it out. I didn't mean to be so self-involved. Um, and so, and we talked about this a lot. So you are in Montreal right now, but you do have a huge love for New Brunswick. A lot of us, your friends, are here, and coworkers and stuff like that. So you're consistently in New Brunswick, gigging as much as possible.
yeah,
So
I'm there next week too.
you're here next week again, and you're doing things constantly to try to help out. Or when we're doing things, you always try to help out whenever you're able to in New Brunswick. So could you ever see yourself moving to New Brunswick?
I
Plug for
mean,
tourism New Brunswick. Take one.
yeah. I do love it. It's close but far. Like if I actually lived there permanently, I think I would probably not see my kids very much.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe one, like after I shop around here for a cottage and find that I don't have the budget to buy in the Montreal area, maybe my cottage will have to be in New Brunswick because it's still a
Okay, you
sham.
don't
Like
need to
it's
make
still
us feel second best.
it's
Okay, you could have somehow perfumed those words and been like, yeah, yeah, New Brunswick first, but if I can't make it there, then you didn't need to say it that way.
it's just accessible. New Brunswick, I think, is still accessible. Like we were talking to the people that own the Airbnb that we were staying at,
Mm-hmm.
and they were saying, "Oh, like, oh yeah, in the last 4 or 5 years, all the vacation property has gone up so much. Like, oh my god, we paid this much for our house like 10 years ago, and now, oh my god, it's worth like $300,000." And I'm like, $300,000? Okay, where do I sign up? That's nothing. $300,000 doesn't even get you a canoe launch in that. Sorry, can I swear? I don't even know if I can swear.
No,
I'm just,
Jason will bleep it.
I swear a
He's
lot
going
when I
through with
talk
the
to
pen right
Mandy-Lynn
now,
usually.
bleeping
So
everything.
Mandy-Lynn makes me want to say the F word. I'm sorry. I don't know.
With Nikki, we were talking too much death, I think, so we might as well get the F bombs out now too.
But yeah, so no, I do love it there, but it's kind of far from where my family is. So it would have to be listen, I've been renting there for I've been spending a week there every year for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
New Brunswick, be appreciative to have me for a week.
Yeah, but I just would be appreciative if you just said if you can't afford something where you're at, then you'll lean back on us. Why do we gotta
Like,
be
or if my children make me angry enough with them that I want to be far away from them, then
so
maybe
we gotta hang on to those two hopes. That's how we get you here. If your family disowns you and if you can't afford where you're at, then you'd love to live to New Brunswick. You should work for Tourism New Brunswick. Those are great words.
I could, yeah. Maybe if Tourism New Brunswick offered me some kind of gig, then maybe I would walk the walk.
I would. So talk me through some of the other gigs that you've been doing. So you've been doing more TV work, or you're going to be getting into more TV work.
I've been working on a couple of shows. Sadly, the one that we had shot and put a pilot together and everything was like a reality kind of show. It was a food travel show based on poutine. It was just basically me going around doing comedy, eating poutine after the shows with comics and getting drunk and whatever. And all the Canadian networks have passed on it for now.
But so wait, so before you go on that, so talk me through that. So is it you eating poutine getting fatter like as you go?
No, no, somehow, uh, uh, well, I mean, that could be the result. I'm certainly not getting healthier as we shoot this show, but it's just the concept is kind of just following me in my lifestyle, which is not very healthy, and doing the show and then going. It's basically like comedians in cars getting coffee, except replace coffee with poutine,
Hmm.
and there's no cars per se, and
Okay.
there's drinking.
Drinking and okay. Okay.
And
Yep.
so it's kind of like yeah, I don't even know what it is, but whatever it was, nobody wanted it. We're waiting for a few of the streaming services to answer us. We might have to retool the concept because, like I said, I'm not even clear on what it is. But it was I was flattered that they asked me to do it. The focus was the poutine part. What was like because poutine has
Yeah.
become so world
It's huge.
famous
Of
now
course.
that it would kind of just like be me. And if say we're outside of Canada and we're in Scotland, for instance, well, maybe they
Right.
don't eat poutine at 2 o'clock in the morning, but it would be like show us what the Scottish version of poutine is like. What do you go grab fast after after drinking? What's the food that you would have? So
Yeah.
that was the long term goal after we do a season, say in Canada, would be to go outside of Canada and still do stand up and like show clips from the show, introduce the comedians that I'm working with, have a chat while we're eating and drinking. And but anyway, it didn't happen. So now I'm working on two other shows. I have two other
Oh wow.
sitcom-y kind of shows that I'm working on.
Okay.
That we'll see. We'll see.
Sorry. So you said you wanted to get more into TV and you weren't yet, but it sounds like you've had 4 TV projects. Would you consider that a lot?
Yeah, and I'm not. I have a terrible. Not that I have a terrible work ethic, but I have trouble like when I don't have a specific deadline because these are shows
Yep.
that I'm trying to pitch.
Right.
Like the guy that I'm writing this, my friend Tavis, that I'm writing the sort of my Everybody Love Raymond or Seinfeld,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
it's based
Yeah.
on me and my show, my act, my
Yeah.
me. It's based on
Yeah.
me and my
You.
life experience.
Yes.
Um, like he's so good. He put together a script, and then I started working on it. But then
Hmm.
I keep forgetting to because I'm doing like 3 shows a week. I'm so oh my god, I'm so busy. I haven't had time to work on the script or the treatment or the pitch package. And it's been months. This poor guy is waiting for me to do it, and he was so nice to want to create a show around me, and I can't
Hmm.
get around to doing just the minimum amount of work that I need to do. I don't know. I think I'm just too lucky. I'm too lucky and too easily satisfied. Like if I just make this amount of money, I feel like I don't need any more ambition. I'm like, well, I have enough money to buy cigarettes and coffee and beer. Well, what more does anybody want?
So it might be a good time to have an agent again.
Maybe, or somebody to an assistant, probably an
An
assistant
assistant
or
might
like
be
a
good.
manager that would.
Yeah.
Okay, Derek, this week you have to put 4 hours into the writing, and you have to do whatever.
Yeah, of
I
course.
don't I don't know what I'm doing. Like it would people like it's funny when I work with comics that are newer in the business. They're like, "Oh, Derek, you've been doing this so long. How do you do it? You're so good. You book everything, and you're always busy." And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I just answer email. Oh, you want me to do a show? I'll do that show. That sounds fun. I really don't know what I'm doing, and I'm very happy that I can make a living despite the fact that I really don't even know what the hell's
I think
going
it's
on.
luck. I think that it's all of your hard work over the years, and I think that you're finally at a place where you're getting the recognition that you deserve for it, where you've worked years and years of hustling to build a name for yourself. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I guess. I guess when people say it's hard work, I'm like, it's embarrassing. Same as like when they call us artists. Like I'm involved with the Canadian Association of Stand-up
Yeah,
Comics,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
here in Quebec, there's the UDA, which is the show business union in Quebec,
Hmm.
and like when you do French shows, even in the contract, they refer to us as artists. The artist will provide 45 minutes. And I'm like, artist. I'm like, yeah, artist. Me and Picasso, we're right there, neck and neck, all the same virtues. So I find it very flattering when people, say that all your hard work and now you deserve this. And I'm like, okay, hard work. I mean, I tell jokes. I don't know how hard that is,
Because some
but I
people
love
it
it.
is.
So
Do you know how
I
many
guess
people
because I
can't
love
even
it, I don't
publicly
see it
speak?
as work. Maybe that's what it
Yeah.
is. Because I love it, I don't see it as work.
Yeah, and some people can't public speak. They struggle with even public speaking, or it's
Right.
nothing for you to go in front of 5,000 people, to go on TV, to go on the radio, to write something. Those are all different things that folks could find very daunting, if you will. But for you, it's an art. It's something that you enjoy doing. So
Yeah, it's
I
weird
think
that
you built that.
I feel more comfortable speaking to like 1,000 people from a stage than I do like a dozen people at a cocktail party. And that's where I feel awkward. I'm like, oh God. Plus, if you say the same things at a cocktail party that I do on stage,
Right,
you could ruin the party. You could really.
right. So you've been doing a lot of corporate gigs as well. What's the difference from doing stand-up comedy to corporate gigs?
Well, corporate gigs and like this one I'm doing on Thursday is a fundraiser. You can't say anything. Whereas when it's my show, like last time we saw each other at the Capitol, my name is on the marquee. I've rented
Right,
that place. I can go in there and say whatever I want.
of course.
On a corporate show, they give you limitations. That's why they pay you too. They pay you to cater to customize the show for the type of audience that they're soliciting.
Mhm.
So, like they don't want us to swear. Like on this show, you won't let me swear. So now I'm not having as much fun. And I'm going to have to charge you triple for this.
I know. No, no. Jason says he's keeping track. Like each time he will write down so where you can go to bleep it. So we're good. Feel free.
I'll
I'm
try not
good.
to swear anymore, Jason. I'm sorry. But yeah, so corporate shows are often not as fun, but sometimes they end up being very fun. And you almost feel embarrassed that you charge so much money to do it. Like I remember the best one I ever did. They flew me to Vegas. They flew my wife to Vegas. They paid me a really, really great amount of money. So I'm there. I'm prepared to like, okay, it's corporate. It's finance people. We got to keep it straight. I get there and the guy in charge was like, oh, Derek, I saw your Newfie Octopus joke on YouTube. Please start with that one and then go from there. I'm like, oh my God, that's my dirtiest joke. All right. This is going to be, so they paid me all this money and they would just want me to be a filthy animal for the whole show. I'm like, oh my God. I was almost like, maybe I should give you guys a discount.
And so, what was just to get back in the TV portion, because I want to make sure I cover that. So, you're working on two more TV shows in addition to the Putin one, in addition to, so the Putin one's done. You're waiting to find out what happens next. If there's going to be some storyboarding or going back on anything. And B Brexit is done, finished, and shot. We're waiting for that to come out in January. And what's happening with these other two? We're waiting still for storyboarding. We're waiting for production.
Well, one of them was kind of inspired. The producer, the Bell executive that I met while doing Brexit, encouraged me. So like we would be very interested in maybe developing something around you. So I think because I've never, pitched my own show or ran my own show, sort of wrote my own show. Being that it's a lower budget, lower distribution, very open with the sort of length of episodes and that we could make them shorter. I'm very interested in possibly working with the Bell 5 people. Just if anything, to make something good, something that I want, but also what a great way to learn, right? We're actually gonna have a budget, enough money that everybody involved gets paid for the work that they do. And we finish with assuming professional looking thing that's a quality product, and I'll learn how that whole machine works. Say I've been an actor on many things, but to be there, to be like a writer, creator, possibly direct one episode or something, it would be very great to learn while still making a professional product. So I'm definitely gonna. They're the first people that I want to pitch it to. The other show that I'm kind of working on I started working on it during the pandemic because I had nothing to do. So I kept myself busy doing a lot of construction and like building projects and stuff like that. So I was shooting stuff on Instagram and just like, this is what I'm doing, building a deck. People were encouraging me, this would be so watchable. Everything on the, say, HGTV or those renovation shows, it's always like people that are in the renovation trying to be TV people. Well, I'm more a TV person that's trying to do the renovation. So it's kind of a new twist that, like the show, oftentimes, like if it's there's so many how-to shows, mine will be sometimes a how-to show, sometimes a how not to show. Like I'll totally screwed up the project and then have to take it all apart and start all over again. People
What do you
will
think of like a home improvement show with you where it might improve your home or it might depreciate
devalue.
your
Yeah, you
home?
might
Yeah.
devalue your home.
Yeah. How to devalue your home. Like I
Yeah.
think you just wrote a plot right now.
Like I was thinking what the name of the show could be, not to code. Like sometimes I'm doing stuff, I'm like, well, I'm not an electrician, so I'm like jimmying something. I'm like like I installed right over here, there my patio door is there, so underneath you go out the patio door, but then you go down some stairs, so that
Hmm.
creates like a void. So there's like a storage area right outside my door here. If I
Right.
go around the side in there, there's like storage. You could put lumber or whatever, like
Hmm.
a lawnmower for the winter. It's like a
Hmm.
storage area. So I was
Hmm.
putting all kinds of stuff in there. I'm like, I can never see anything. It's so dark under here. So I'm like, I'm gonna. So I pulled electrical wire from the fuse box or whatever, the breaker, the electrical panel, brought it and put in a light. And then I'm like, oh shoot, what if it rains? I need. I didn't. It's like I didn't feel like going to the hardware store to buy an outdoor fixture. So I'm like, shoot, I need to protect. So I grabbed the cover of like a pool chemicals,
Yes.
pool chlorine or whatever,
Yes.
the blue lid that goes on that. I just drilled that into the ceiling and then put the light fixture underneath
Out
that, so it's
under
got
so
its own little umbrella. Pretty sure that's not going to pass any inspection code, but keeping my electricity dry.
so how
So
about your own home improvement show? That's what I think we need. I think
yeah, that's the other
yeah.
show that I'm working on. That's the other
Yeah.
show that I'm working on. I've got tons of demo footage.
You have footage. I was gonna say you have so much footage. I
Now I
know.
just need to put it together on a piece of paper and have the courage, sort of courage, maybe not the right, the confidence in
Yeah,
myself to
yeah,
pitch it,
yeah, yeah.
to somebody, say to reach out to HGTV and say, I have this idea. Here's some footage of what I did.
I think the
Hopefully you like
failures are
me.
as great as the ones that you did. So I think like for every one you did like a mess up after, because it just shows that hey, I tried it, this worked, this didn't.
That's the target market, I think, for the show that I was thinking about, is that people are often, they just don't do it. Like they won't even change a light fixture, or they won't even say their
Right.
toilet doesn't flush right, they call a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
I figured, like, if anybody knows me or my stage personality, like, no one look at this me and go like, oh yeah, this guy must be good at, say, all renovation or whatever.
Right.
uh it's basically to show that don't be scared. It's especially at your own house. What's the worst that can happen? If it's already broken, what are you gonna break it more? Maybe, but give it a try. It's not rocket science. The way that I even started doing it was I call a plumber. He's like, you want I can come on whatever next Monday. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna poop for say 6 days. So I'm like, I'm out. I'm gonna give it a shot. And so I go on YouTube and like, toilets are pretty simple things. So I just
Really.
fixed it myself and see. So it's that the show would be that. Not every time is gonna be a full gut the house renovation. Sometimes it's
Right.
like, oh, my light is no longer working, or my toilet isn't flushing, or my toilet is leaking. It'll show that any idiot like this one can do it. So maybe you could give it a shot also.
I like the idea also of you being like the Kijiji person and you know how you hire someone, you showing up to fix the issue. And you just doing it by like YouTube or something like that. Like, what's the issue? And then I do like the
Yeah.
idea of that. And I don't see any implications with insurance or anything like that
And yeah, well, there's that.
or
I guess
liabilities at all.
we'd have to think about that. Maybe have a professional on hand if we're doing the TV show. If I'm going to other people's houses.
Yeah, it's like, what is that called? Like, you know, when you go to the beauty schools and the student cuts your hair and
Yeah,
stuff. So, yeah, like we love that idea.
apprenticeship.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got to learn somewhere, right?
Yeah, like they're cutting your hair, then they're like, "Oh, we shouldn't put a bowl over your head. Here you go. The teacher's gonna fix it." And then she's like, "Let's use a vase instead," and then even it out. But it's like uh the idea of you showing up at their house and Yeah, just having the
Look,
professional with you.
looking at their problem and then going straight to YouTube, that must inspire confidence in people, right?
I think that yeah. If anything out of today, I think we've just helped write your
I need to
right.
change out my furnace. Oh, I'm sure there's a YouTube video for that. Let me.
Change it out. And it's you with your sig.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're just
Oh,
going
wait,
in.
is this a gas furnace? Maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't smoke. Yeah. Whoopsie.
Right. And then it's like braiding with the electrical. I think that that's a great idea. So what was your biggest fail in your home improvement projects?
Hmm. I'm gonna look around. Probably my bathroom needed some sprucing up. It
Yeah.
needed to be completely gutted out and then redone. And I'm like, no, I can, give it a lick and a prayer. And
Yeah.
so I'd replace the fixtures and I replaced the floor, uh, and the light, whatever. Fixed the toilet, and then as soon as it was done, I'm like, I should have. It sucked. Like I put in a new window too, and now I am still gonna have to gut the whole thing. So all that work that I did, I'm gonna have to scrap it because I need to start from scratch. There was like
Yep.
tile in the bathroom is kind of in the shower is kind of leaky. So it wasn't a fail, it was just bad planning is what it was. I should have done the big job right out of the gate instead of trying to make it look, because functionality wise, like now, like you have a shower curtain in your shower.
Yes.
I have a shower curtain between the shower and the bathroom, but
Oh,
I had to put one along the wall of the outside as well, because somewhere there's a tile that's leaking and it's getting behind, and then I had to
oh
literally
yeah,
do
yeah.
the ceiling downstairs.
Yeah, then I'll have to be fixed. So that's not that big of a fail. And what was your biggest learning experience with doing all your home renovations?
That I can do it, that it's not, it's kind of like stand up actually, Mandy. It's like
Okay.
people, when I started doing stand up, like people would be like, oh my God, I could never do that.
Hmm.
Oh, that's so scary. I could never talk in front of that many people. Blah, blah, blah. That's what made me want to do it more. I'm like, oh, you can't do that? Well, I can. That's where I'm more comfortable than you just talking to you alone, telling me that you can't do what I do. This is more uncomfortable than doing it in front of all the hundred of people.
Yeah.
So same with the renovation thing, is that when I would take on a project, they'd be like, oh my God, I would never be able, I can barely change a light bulb. And I'm like, what kind of idiot are you if you can't change a light bulb? No offense.
There's your show. There's your show. What kind of idiot are you? Featuring
Yeah.
Derek again. There,
Yeah,
that's
I
the
like
name of
that.
it.
I like that.
There you go. Yeah.
Little tongue-in-cheek aggression.
Are you smarter than? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, are you smarter than Derek Seguin? If
Yeah,
you
we'll work
really
on some titles. Work. And you and I met. I think you were pretty far in your career when you and I became friends. I think we met in 2014 or 15. And I guess when you started stand up, you're naturally a funny guy in general, like just in conversation. Even when we're just talking. When did you discover you were funny? Were you a comedian growing up in school? Were you a class clown? I'm sure you
I
never got
think
asked that question before.
I, I think I've always liked to laugh. So liking to laugh makes you want to make other people laugh. As we all
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
when other people are laughing, that's enough. Like, somebody could be just listening to a podcast or whatever. You don't even know what they're listening to, but they're laughing. Their laughing will make you laugh.
Yeah.
So I always said growing up, my best friend Chad, I always thought he was the funny one. He was
Hmm.
see, I would be on board. I'd be like the little dog. Hey, Spike, hey, when you remember the other time, tell him the story about that funny story, whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, I set my alarm for what time I thought this show was actually supposed to take
That's
place.
we can get into that in a minute about me not knowing time differences. We'll work on that. I'll
Yeah,
work on time differences.
we'll
Okay.
have an episode of the Home Improvement Show about that.
We will put that on first.
Uh, so yeah, so that was I was funny. I mean, I was trying to get a laugh. Like if I was doing an oral presentation, I would definitely have some humor in there.
Right.
But I wasn't outwardly the funniest person in my circle. Um,
Really?
but I was very much a fan of stand-up comedy
Okay.
from young.
Who? Who was your
It
from
never
who?
occurred. Pardon?
Who was the folks that you looked up to or folks that
I've told this story before, and remember when we were kids? I mean, I'm much older than you, but
no, you're
when
not.
pay TV, pay TV when you could, like HBO, for instance, or whatever. There was pay TV. I forget what, a super channel or something like that. You could pay a subscription. They would show movies all the time.
Right.
That weren't quite out on video yet or whatever. Anyway,
Right.
here in Montreal, every year, I forget, at some point or twice a year, they would give you a weekend of free pay TV so that you could sample to see what kind of things, what kind of programming they put on.
Right. Right.
So like in the middle of, for overnight, I would put in a cassette, push record, and then go. My parents would make me go to sleep, hoping that I would somehow get porn recorded. Say that they would be playing porn at 2:00 in the morning. But one morning I woke up and what it had recorded was Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one.
That was a good comedy, yeah.
And then there was a movie called The Last Dragon. It was like a Harlem, like a black Harlem kind of kung fu movie.
Okay.
And then the 3:00 in the morning thing, instead of porn, what I got was Richard Pryor live in Long Beach. The one where he's wearing that like red blouse thing.
Yes, yes.
And I'm like 9 or 10 years old. So I have this Richard Pryor. And so I watch it and I'm like, what is this? This is just a guy talking like it's a concert, but there's no music. And it's just a guy, like the guy. And I'd seen The Toy. Remember Richard Pryor did that movie, The Toy, with Jackie Gleason?
Yeah.
So I knew him as a funny guy.
Right.
Stir Crazy. I had watched Stir Crazy with my mom, the one where Gene Wilder go to bed, go to jail. So I knew who Richard Pryor was, but now I'm seeing at 10 years old why Richard Pryor is famous, and it's because he's a stand-up. And I'm watching, and I'm like, my mind was blown. I watched that special like 500 times. The tape didn't even work good at the end.
Wow.
I was so amazed that just this one guy up there making them laugh with nothing. He's making sounds and voices and faces and falling down and
just
laughing.
Just being totally episodic.
So I was so enthralled with it, but again, it never crossed my mind until I was in my 30s that it was accessible, that I could be a comic. Because until I met a amateur comedian, it never occurred to me that there was a starting point. It was just like to me, stand-up comedian was like, you might as well be talking about Johnny Depp or say
right. Sure. Yeah.
Big famous actor Paul Newman. It never occurred to me that you work your way up to a thing like in any job. So it was in meeting this amateur comedian, Kevin Gazior is his name. I met him at a Montreal Gazette newspaper Christmas party. Right. And he was introduced as a comedian. I'm like, what do you mean you're a comedian? Right. He's like, I do stand-up. And I'm like, well, how come? I've never heard of you. So it was, okay. You start, everybody has to do even Richard Pryor had to do his first show at one point. So I tried it and I was immediately addicted to it. And never, even then, didn't occur to me that it would be my job. It was just a thing that I love to do. It was like a hobby. I'd always wanted to perform, say like any play in school I would do and things like that. So I just started, and then eventually it became people. I was so excited the first time they paid me $25 to do stand-up. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to pay for my bar tab. I'm here in a bar. I'm going to talk to the audience and you're going to pay for my beer. This is the best thing ever. Now, if I try to drink everything if I try to spend all the money they pay me on booze, I might not make it through the night. It's great.
I like that you said might not. So there was still a chance that.
some night like that Vegas gig, that would be a lot of drinking, especially if they give the booze away in Vegas. It would only be tips.
So you've had the opportunity to meet a lot of big names throughout stuff. So I think Bill Burr, you've met him before. Talk about your meeting with Bill. I know that you liked him.
I love him. We all fan of his. He was very nice. I mean, it's not like we hung out and like
nothing like that, eh? No.
We just, hello, I'm a big fan. Can I take a picture? Okay, here's a picture. It was funny. As I was, I'm standing there watching him and George Wallace. Bill Burr is basically trying to teach George Wallace how a cell phone worked. Like, no, that's not how you do it. You have to save it like this and whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, guys, this is too funny. Like Bill Burr, like you're known for your tech savvy. So you're trying to teach George, who's like just 20 years older than us. And I'm like, and they're like, yeah. And George is still looking at the phone and the picture. But seemed like a very nice guy. I couldn't say that I know him well, but he was He was cool. He looks cool. He's on podcasts and stuff enough to, I feel like I know his personality. He wouldn't know me, but Greg, I'm a huge fan of Bill's, and Dave Chappelle. Like Richard Pryor is my first love, but Dave
Yep.
Chappelle and Bill Burr to me are the two best doing what we do right now.
Yeah, yeah. We just have about 15 minutes left. So, who are some other inspirations in comedy for you?
Well, like I said, those two guys, Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle, are to me the two best. Unfortunately, I've recently decided to try to not watch. I mean, I can't not watch Dave, but there's a danger for me. There's a danger because those two guys specifically, and Louis C.K. is the same thing. Even like they went through his thing, but I still think he's a wonderful stand-up comedian. I think he's one of the best that ever done it. Also, despite what you might think about him. But
Right.
the danger for me watching those guys, like I started to watch Bill Burr's last special, and because we're the same demographic group in life. Say Dave, Bill, and myself, we're all about the same age. We have kids, we have a wife, we have the same kind of life, right? We're comedians that are straight guys. Not Dave's not white, but straight guys with kids and the wife and living in a society. We end up talking about a lot of the same things. So last time I was watching Bill Burr's special, I watched like 15 minutes, and 3 times I started to get so stressed that his joke, he touched on a premise that I was also using in my act. And I'm like, oh no. Because if I feel like they're too similar,
Then you'll
I
change
have to
it.
stop doing mine because
Yeah.
people are going to think that I'm stealing from Bill
Yeah.
Burr or stealing
Yeah.
from Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle. See? So I had to stop. I have to stop watching it. I mean,
Right.
I can't help myself with Chappelle because I really think he's
Paved the way.
so important in society. I'd say Bill is like myself, still just shooting the proverbial whatever, not getting too the morality, is it like we're not trying to teach a message or whatever. Dave is saying some very important stuff. Like sometimes it doesn't even feel like you're watching stand-up anymore. It feels like you're watching a TED talk on how civilization should be and is not, and where we're failing as a society. So but Dave sometimes he'll hit on a premise when he's talking about his kid or moving into Ohio, and I'm like, oh geez, oh my god, this is a premise that I have to. So it's stressful. So I don't watch a lot of stand-up comedy, especially my favorites, because they're too similar to what the kind of thing that I'm doing, and I don't want anybody to ever accuse me of stealing.
Right. Because in comedy world, you know yourself, that's like other than bombing, but taking a joke is something that you
Is
can't
you can't do it.
you can't
Right?
do. That's a big, yeah. That's a big no-no. So, and in terms of where do you draw your inspiration? So the thing about your comedy, anybody that's watching right now knows that, you're very well polished, obviously. You go up on stage, you do crowd work, you also do a very good job at making folks just feel like everything around them. And I know that this is important to you. Like nothing else matters at this moment, but you having a good time, right?
Yeah,
And
let's hang out. Let's hang out and have some fun.
yeah, and so talk about the writing process because I know that a lot of folks ask me questions about a lot about that, and as well as other artists that
Yeah.
that we talk to. So talk about the writing process. Do you write stuff down, or do you just walk out there and pray to God that
Yeah, that's what I have in
yeah,
mind
that
is
what you
gonna
got's
work.
gonna work,
Yeah.
baby?
That's funny when you say you describe me as polished. I'm like, wow, am I ever pulling one over on you? Because yeah, I'm very stream of consciousness. Obviously, I mean, I have jokes like if you see me twice, you might see the same stuff repeat, but I feel it's never quite exactly the same because I really just I'm winging it up there. But like there's different brain muscles that thankfully those are clearly my stand-up
Right,
brain muscles are the ones that I'm not killing with all the all the intake,
right,
because my brain functions so much better up there. It's like while I'm telling this story, I'm already something happened in the room in the audience right there that, oh okay,
right.
when I'm finished this sentence I'm gonna go talk about what this just happened. And then, you try, I go up there and something will happen to me that day. I'll go up and I'll talk about it on stage. And if the audience react to it, I'll improvise some more stuff. And then tomorrow night, I'll remember the stuff. Somehow I remember the stuff that worked, and then I'll work it more. And then eventually it become a bit I talk about regularly. So often though, it's so weird. Like sometimes I'll come off stage and like Angela will say, "Oh my, what was that thing you just said about Tylenol and the chair that moved?" And I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
I don't even remember saying the word
I don't
Tylenol. What are you
even.
talking about?" It's like I forget. But then tomorrow night I'll be up on stage and I'll start along a line that I had started on last night, and it will remind me of where that went.
It'll organically come up again.
It's like the laughter, it imprints it for
It
you. Like when
triggers.
people laugh at a thing, it imprints it. So there's a muscle memory. Like, oh yeah, last time I went in talking about wearing a mask during COVID, that led me to feel so, and it reminds me while I'm on stage. Sometimes I'll come off stage and I'm like, I need to write this down, and no one could remember what I said. And I'm like, no, but I came up, it was magical. I'll even say on stage, oh my God, I've never said that before. That worked out really good. That was great. Somebody please write that down. And they think I'm joking. And I come off stage, seriously, what was the thing I asked you to write down? And everyone's like, I don't know. I didn't think you were
We
serious.
didn't, what? Yeah.
So honestly, I forget a lot of stuff that way. So that being, without sounding too pretentious, I humbly want to say I'm very lucky that that is a natural talent or skill set that I have, that I often spontaneously come up with such perfect things for that moment that even like sometimes, so I'll forget it, but it's probably I forgot it because it only worked in that moment with those people. With the like I'll make a mistake with a word, and that will turn into the big joke I'll end up throwing like 3 tags on it spontaneously in the moment that I can't repeat it, because I would have to sort of be contrived and pretend that I'm making the same mistake or say the same Freudian slip that I made that night.
Of course.
So you want it to be real. So I think to describe my style or my writing method is very loose. Obviously, I have polished material. I mean, it's stuff that I've done many times, that it's always a little bit different.
Right.
But it will always be slightly new, and it evolves on itself. And like even, like comedians will put out a special, like the big American guys will put out their hour special, and they have to put that material away.
Right.
I find my material organically, like new things come into the act.
It progresses into something bigger, and
then becomes big, and then because that's now this big, the thing that I've been doing for 3 years will just fall out of the act organically. Like I don't have to do this and then scrap it all and then start from scratch. It's always kind of, so by the time I'm ready to do another album, everything that I was doing on that album is already out of the act, and I'm already, I don't have to force it.
No, and you know what? And that absolutely makes sense. And I think that that's true testament to the hours that you put in. So when we started off today, we started off with you saying that you felt lucky, but I think that now in hindsight, when you're thinking about when you're starting out, all of everything you have that's polished has started from something like that, where you've collectively built onto it to have that kind of, all of the jokes that you have at hand, or all of the different bits. So talk about crowd work. So I know, and some of our comedian friends love it, some hate it, some stay from it. What do you think about heckling, and what do you think about crowd work? Do you like it or hate it?
I like it. Like often, like just last week, I was in Oshawa, Ontario, just doing a Yuck Yucks or whatever, which was a gig that I took just to be close to Tim Steves. And I'm so grateful that I did, because I went up a day early, turns out, to make sure to go see Tim. Tim is a friend of ours that passed away last Thursday.
Let's talk about him for a minute if you want. Let's talk about Tim for a minute.
Yeah.
Who is Tim to anybody, the few people that didn't know?
Tim was one of the most real, genuine personalities in stand-up in Canada, like ever. He was never mind the huge talent and a huge guy, a huge personality, but he was just real. He was always, wasn't ever, say, he didn't claw his way up over people's backs. He would drag you along with him if he could. See, like he was as nice to the biggest headliner, who anybody who is not like some self-delusional important jerk would never feel superior to Tim. Tim is a 30-year veteran headliner killer. So, but Tim would act the same way with Russell Peters that he would for a guy that's at his second open mic. Say he's just a real listen to you and like, oh, good. Yeah. Say you're trying this thing, like the brotherhood to Tim meant a lot. Say to be the brotherhood, sisterhood, it's just a figure of speech. But if you do stand-up comedy, we're part of a collective and we have to look out for each other. I mean, it's a special thing. Anyway, Tim was just a great guy, a great friend, and an all-around talent. And we lost him last Thursday. And I had been trying to get to Toronto to be with him. He played cards at his house about once or twice a week. So I tried to make it so that I could stay later or get there. This time, it just struck me. I'm like, no, I'm going to go, instead of staying later after the weekend at Yuck Yucks, I'm going to go up a day early and try to go see him. And I'm so thankful that I did that, because he passed away that day when I went, and I was able to say goodbye, this, whether or not he knew or not. He was sedated and stuff. He was sedated. But I got to kiss him goodbye, and I was grateful for that.
We're sending thoughts and love and prayers to all of his family and friends and anybody that's watching right now. And they were talking about it this morning as well. I heard it on the radio talking about remembering
Sussex, New Brunswick. There was a memorial on Saturday in Sussex. Yeah,
he was a Sussex
celebration of life on Saturday in Sussex.
Yeah, he might be gone right now too soon, but he left a legacy. He left a legacy in comedy. He built an empire of love and respect and what it's supposed to be about, what helping your brothers and sisters in the craft. And I think that what you just said, Derek, is true testament to his character, to his stature. So moving back on to performing at Yuck Yuck. So talking about getting your crowd work. So was there something that you liked or didn't like? It was a heckler, or what was this?
I mean, some hecklers can, like, for instance, not to pigeonhole groups or whatever, but drunk white girls between the age of 30 and 50 they're unmanageable. I mean, no matter, you could humiliate them, they're so fly, they don't even know. Like, it takes the rest of the audience to be like, shut the hell up, you stupid, you know. So those ones can be difficult, but I don't mind it. Like I was saying, in Oshawa, there was this woman who wouldn't stop, and I saw the security coming to, they were going to tell her shut up or tell her to leave or whatever, and I was like, no, it's okay, I can handle it. And so I was trying to find ways to say things that the audience would make a big enough reaction that she would finally realize, you're being an idiot, shut up. So I did. I think you've seen the joke where I talk about Angela and I have nonverbal communication. Like when we're in Jamaica and we're like holding hands and we have nonverbal communication. And this chick that wouldn't shut up, because I always, during this little setup that I do about nonverbal communication, I'll look at a woman or a man and be like, with your partner, you must have nonverbal communication. Right. So I did that. I looked at her. I'm like, you must have not. Oh no, right. You probably don't have anything nonverbal. So you never shut the hell up. And the whole place went, because she wasn't shutting up the whole time. So she was like, well, I don't even get it. So no, yeah, there's a limit. I can handle most hecklers, but when they don't realize that I've put them in their place and that it's now time to shut up, I don't care. I will just say, no, that was my way of trying to make a funny way of saying, please shut up. You look like an idiot and you're ruining it for everybody. Right. I will ultimately get to that. If that doesn't work, then somebody will have to come and tell them to take them out. But it's, knock on wood, it's only ever happened once that we had to have somebody removed, and it's because they stood up and said, "Yeah, I'm going to go to your house," and that was not
Wow.
acceptable.
Wow.
In
Yeah,
that
that's
scenario, I was Will Smith. I dropped the microphone and dove over the table.
right. Yeah, totally unacceptable. So, wow, I can't
Who
even
says that?
imagine.
I'm gonna like who says I'm gonna anything? I see. Well, what people are crap. I don't know what's happening in our society, but people have become really crappy.
So in terms of, and I think we just have about 2 minutes left here. I just want to quickly get on with, thanks for your time today. Of course, always love having you on. Love you so much. You know that.
Love you too.
Talk about some upcoming shows or where folks could book you.
Right, in New Brunswick.
Where and how, or see
I'm in
you.
New Brunswick next week, right? I'm doing Thursday. I'm in Salisbury,
Okay.
New Brunswick, at the
Yes.
Lions Club.
Okay.
And then, so you get the tickets through the Lions Club. And then
Okay.
Friday, I'm in Moncton. It's a corporate show, though, so you can't come.
Okay.
But then on Saturday, the 19th, for all your Nova Scotia listeners, I'm back in Cape Breton at
Okay.
Sydney at the Highland Arts Center at the Hat, Saturday, November 19th.
Okay.
Sydney in Cape Breton, which I thought was part of Newfoundland the first time I went to. I know they don't like to hear that, but you guys have a very similar way of speaking, which sound like drunk leprechauns.
And then what about anybody that wants to, if they are watching this and they want to book you for a show, how can they contact you, Derek?
They can go through my website. There's a form that asks you a few simple questions, and then somebody will get back to you. Or if you want, just call them at info@dereksegain.com. Send me what you're looking for, and a date is always a good place to start.
Okay.
The info@dereksegain.com or Hubcap
Okay.
Promotions, hubcappromotions.ca. You can contact them too. Robert Gallant does a lot of my booking in the East Coast. There's a
Okay.
million
And
ways to hire me. Really, just call me. My phone number is no, I'm kidding.
no. And so
Call Mandy. Just call Mandy. She'll know how to get a hold of me.
721, yeah, with the and if and also they can find you on Facebook too if they're interested in seeing any of your stuff. So you're available for pretty much any gig, corporate or anything like that. So again, I want to say thank you so much today for joining us. Always a pleasure when you drop by. Always love hearing what you've been getting up to and the different events. Super happy to see you outperforming, doing what you do best, and hearing about you all over the radio, TV, at shows, and folks just